What we're going to be talking about today in Change Health, we hope will be a blessing to you because it's going to be talking about the Exodus. Now, you know, and usually in Bible study, when we talk about the Exodus, we look at the Exodus and the book of Exodus, people coming out of Egypt and going into the promised land. Well, in a very real way, you have to understand your health journey as an Exodus, as a process where you're able to go from one place to a whole nother place altogether. And one of the transitions that the Lord has blessed our family to make in our health exodus in a vegan lifestyle is to not be dependent on meat and dairy products. And probably one of the biggest obstacles that people face when it comes to making that transition is the obstacle of dealing with eggs and eggs as a food substitute. So what we decided to do this morning, and this afternoon, I should say, in our time together, is we're actually going to take a look and understand the easiest, probably, I think, egg substitute that you could probably introduce into your diet that will allow you to make the transition. Because when you're making the transition, any kind of growth, anytime the fruit or the work of the Spirit is trying to go in our lives, it should be a growth. It shouldn't be a groan. It shouldn't be a strain, and it should not be a stress. It should be something beautiful. It's not always easy to make the choice, but once you've made up your mind and you've made the decision to go through that, like we talked about in Sabbath School Study Group, the Lord and his providence will open up the doors. So just like the eunuch who happened to be reading the book of Isaiah was wanting someone to give him understanding, then Philip, on the other hand, was looking for something or someone to reach out to that day. The Lord led them into it, and it didn't require any effort other than their cooperation, other than them to surrender. So when you're thinking about becoming a vegan or thinking about making the transition, we really want to have that frame of mind in mind, that when we're looking at this transition, this is something that we want to do naturally. So when we're talking about an egg substitute, why do we want to have an egg substitute? Well, one of the reasons why we want to have an egg substitute is because eggs have a lot of downsides to them. And I recognize before I get started, I want to make sure that we read this disclaimer so everybody's on the same page. And that's that nothing here that we're saying has been approved by the FDA. Nothing we're going to tell you about is intended to diagnose, to cure, or prevent disease. This is purely educational. And so that's our goal and that's our intent in us being together. So I want to make sure that we get that word out when we're talking about especially anything that's involving and dealing with health. Now, back to the good stuff. When we're looking at the idea of being a plant-based vegetarian, that's important because there are a lot of drawbacks to any type of meat or meat byproduct. Obviously, there's some people who are vegan for different reasons. Some are ethical vegans, and others are just for the health aspect. We probably tend to be more towards the health aspect, but fully aware of the ethical as well. When you think about a chicken and when you think about an egg, remember that that's an undeveloped organism. It's an undeveloped creature. And some people have even contended that when you're dealing with an egg, when you actually look at it as far as it being taken from the mother or taken from that hen, that egg is actually part of that egg or chicken's menstrual process, because that's why the egg looks the way that it looks when you actually crack it open and use it. That mucus or that mucal composition is what actually lends itself to make it beneficial for baking, aside from what it is. But that's what it does for the baking. So I know because of what it does, and it does such a good job, it's easy to kind of overlook what it actually is. So we want to try and grow and make the Egg-Codus today, all right? And our Egg-Codus, how can we transition from using animals or using foods that are not beneficial to us physically, but give us the same effect when it comes to when we bake or when we make something? And I want to just show one of them. Doesn't mean this is the only one, but just one of them that's natural, it's affordable, and it's super easy to use. So rather than cracking open an egg or going to go and grab to the freezer and get a dozen of little chickens in a hatch, we want to go and grab a bag of flaxseed. And let's talk a little bit about flaxseed. Flaxseed is actually a flax. In fact, the flax whole seed is simply a grain or a seed that is mentioned even in scripture. When it talks about the burning flax, it was referencing, I think there in Isaiah, that's the flax plant or flax leaf. But when we're talking about the flax seed, it's beneficial One, not only is it an egg substitute, but this is an excellent source of what we call or have known now as the omega-3 fatty acids. These are important, and they're especially important to us as we age, because what researchers are finding is that people who have dementia or Alzheimer's or other kind of neurodegenerative diseases, that when they look at those neurons, post-mortem, and when they looked at the actual connections there in the brain, they all tended to lack the oil on the sheath that allows the neurons to relay and to convey messages effectively. So on a very, very, very small level, these oils actually help us. These fatty acid chains actually help us mentally to maintain the proper neuron health by having the acids that eventually the brain is using to work and to operate today and way down the road, even to tomorrow. So that's one benefit. Not even dealing with the cardiovascular aspect, but just the mental aspect of how it helps with the brain. So that's why these flax seeds, which have these fatty acids, are so good and they're beneficial to us. Now, aside from them being beneficial to us physically, they're super, super easy to make. I'm actually doing a lot of talking because it's so quick and easy to just make an egg using flaxseed. So here's what we're going to do. I have a bag of flaxseed here, and I'm really excited about this bag because the Lord is so good. Remember when I said how when you make the decision to follow the Spirit, how He'll lead you, He will give you providential opportunities, He will even bless you and give you stuff at half price. We literally went to the store and we got this. Usually a bag of flaxseed this size, this is a pound, about 1 pound bag. It was about 2 something or 3 something, but it's for an entire pound. When we went to another store here in our area, we went over there and we actually saw that they had it on clearance at this other store for half price. So this 1 pound bag was actually like, I think, $1.30 something. So again, to the point of when you make the decision, the Lord will make it possible. We got this bag of flaxseed. And now I want to remind you also, not remind you, but also let you know, don't get flaxseed confused with this other seed. Here's this other seed that a lot of people see and they may get it mixed up with, and that's chia seeds. Flax seeds and chia seeds are 2 different things. Both good, both great. In fact, they both kind of have the same effect when you put them into water. And you can use chia seeds as an egg replacer. But the reason why I'm not talking about chia seeds now or as opposed to flax is because chia seeds tend to be a little bit more expensive. Actually, a lot more expensive, when you look at the size to volume comparison. So that's why I don't really promote chia seeds as much. I'm not against them, but they are different. And also, you don't have that fatty acid benefit as much as you would with the flaxseed. So that's one reason why we're going with the flaxseed over the chia seed. Because by the way, we got this chia seed, it was also on clearance when we went to go shop and saw this one as well. So praise the Lord. So I want to make sure you're aware of that. So give me a moment. I'm going to zoom us down here so you can see here on the table, how do you make a flax egg? All right. Super easy, super fun to do. All right. Super fun and super easy because you don't have to worry about cracking anything. You don't have to worry about any shells. You don't have to worry about any gook or muck on your hands. It's really, really a blessing. Here you have a bowl and you want to have a cup of water and you want to have some flaxseed. Ground flaxseed. Ground flaxseed is different than the whole. The whole has been in the husk. So you got to treat it a little bit differently. You want to make sure that when you've opened up the package, if it's ground flaxseed that looks like this, you want to go ahead and put that in the refrigerator. And you want that to be refrigerated because it can get rancid. In other words, it can spoil over time. But this is how it looks. This is the consistency of it when it falls. So it's kind of clumpy, but it's not clumpy like, it's not like a grit or a hominy kind of grain. It's more like a flour. It's almost like a flour, a cornmeal. So that's the flaxseed in the water. That's all you need now to make our egg. To make the egg, you only have to think in ratios. 1 real egg, or I should say 1 chicken egg to 1 real egg. 1 chicken egg to 1 flaxseed egg is simply 1 tablespoon of flaxseed with 3 tablespoons of water. So to make an egg, to make 1 flax egg, you just need a tablespoon of flaxseed and then 3 tablespoons of water. So let's make it right here, right now. We're going to take 1 tablespoon of flaxseed. I'm going to use my other here. And it can be level or it can be bulging. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be heaping. But 1 tablespoon of flaxseed to 3 tablespoons of water. 1, 2, 3. That makes 1 egg. Some of you may say, oh, I don't have a tablespoon. Well, don't worry. Even if you just have a teaspoon, you want to make it super easy. Remember that 3 teaspoons equal 1 tablespoon. So you can always convert, even if you don't have all the gear that you think you might need. But I think everybody has a tablespoon. All right? And so you grab a tablespoon with 3 tablespoons of water, and all you do is stir. You want to stir the flaxseed. And what happens is, now immediately, show you the consistency here, it's very watery. You won't really see that difference unless you let it sit. If you let the flaxseed in the water sit, it's going to congeal and it's going to turn into that thickness that you're looking for in an egg. Now I'm going to be totally transparent with you. Even if you take this and you put it in your dish as it's in this quote watery state, as it sits in the batter or as it sits in whatever mix that you're using to bake, it will thicken up, even during cooking. So some people, when they're telling people about flaxseed, they make them, you got to sit and make it. No, you can, and you sit there and you let it sit for 2 to 3, 5 minutes at the least. You're going to get that thickness that you're looking for, that you're used to seeing with an egg yolk. But even if you don't, if you were to take this, add it to your cornbread, add it to your cookies, add it to your cake, you will see the effect of that thickness or the binding that you want to see in an egg. You're going to find that in the flaxseed, even though you didn't let it sit. So that's just a little heads up, those of you who are in a rush and trying to cook on the run. So let's review. When you're coming to flaxseed, remember that flaxseed is totally different than what you'll find with the chia seed. It's not that they're bad, but they do cost a little bit more. So we're not really considering that as an option right now. When you're looking at flaxseed, it's normally going to come in some type of bag. Most stores, even their store brands, they're all pretty much the same. You don't have to sweat trying to find organic versus whatever. Just your regular flaxseed, you should be in good shape because flaxseed is not a product that is traditionally genetically modified. So you don't have to necessarily be as focused on it being organic. Another thing you want to remember is that when you have your flaxseed, make sure that you get whole flaxseed meal. In other words, flaxseed that has been crushed. If you get it by the seed, that is not a problem at all. All it means is you just got an extra step. You got to take those seeds and you got to grind them up. So if you've got a nice blender, if you got a Vitamix, you can go ahead and make your own flaxseed meal, which is actually it's better because you're grinding it fresh and you're using it fresh. But if you don't have that quality of blender, you can't get it down to this kind of fine quality, then go ahead and get the flaxseed meal and use it. This flaxseed meal, a whole pound of it was on sale, was like $1 something. Usually it's $2 something a pound. That is not unreasonable. But remember the benefit of what you're getting here. If you look at this container of flaxseed, and if I'm making 1 egg with every tablespoon, look at how many eggs I'm getting out of a pound. So you're actually, in the long run, going to save money and you're going to save your body. Because now you're putting in good omega-3 fatty acids. You're using egg substitutes that, by the way, are not allergenic. In other words, you don't have to worry about egg allergies. You don't have to worry about anyone getting sick. It's really great for those of you who are trying to make sure you have good respiratory health, especially talking about with everything with the pandemic, and you're really trying to focus on having good respiratory health. One of the easiest ways to mitigate asthma, sinus infections, congestion, upper respiratory conditions is to adopt a vegan diet that removes the foods that aggravate those conditions. Foods like cow milk, foods like eggs. By using this as a substitute, you'll find a lot of those symptoms, if they're not minimized, by the grace of God, they'll even go away. So 1 tablespoon of flaxseed with 3 tablespoons of water is going to give you 1 egg. Now, just in the couple of minutes that I've been running my mouth, I'm going to show you the difference in how the activity and the thickness of the flaxseed have changed. I'm going to take this teaspoon now here, and I'm going to bring up the flaxseed, And I'm going to let you, hopefully, let you see it coming out now. And remember how we were pouring it out before? It was just coming out like water. Now what you see there is you have that yolk effect. This is the yolk effect, and I'm even going to try and zoom in so you can see down into the bowl. You have the yolk effect now that's been created. So the movement of it, there's a thickness there that will really make, and I hope you see it there on the side a little bit. It's hard to see it and do it on the camera at the same time. But I think you get the point. And the point that you get is this, is that you have options. The point that you're getting, I hope that you see, is that you don't have to keep eating the same way that you're eating. There is always an exodus. And the exodus that the Lord is inviting us to enjoy is to just grow. Try something different. See how it tastes. And if it doesn't taste the way you want it to, then you try something else. That's a part of the journey to finding what works for you. But this has been a blessing, and I hope you've enjoyed realizing that you don't have to use a chicken egg to bake. You can still have your pie, you can still have your cake, and all little chickens can still run free. And you actually save money at the end of the day too. So everybody wins, right? That's the whole point. So hope you've enjoyed Change Health, and this has been a blessing to you.